Hey guys, what's up and welcome back to the channel. So I recently had a chance to see the Iron Claw and we really need to talk about this. So let's just do it. So before I get too far into kind of the details of the movie, I just want to say right off the bat, this is an incredible movie. You should definitely see it. And it's definitely something that for the first half or so of the movie is really like just like this really feel good like family, like these brothers that love each other so much, and you just kind of feel warm inside and you're like happy watching them. And then there's a sudden shift like halfway through and it just rips all that away from you and makes it all that much worse. And by the end of it, you know, it's like it's hard to feel anything anymore. And like obviously in like a good way, even though the ending is kind of, you know, there's something to something positive to take from it at least, but it is just like it is hard to watch at points. So basically the Iron Claw is the real life story of the Von Erich family, or the Atkinsons, I think is their real name. And so basically it's this kind of legacy pro wrestling family. So the main story kind of starts in like 1979 and we go through kind of like the mid to late 80s. And it's just about this family whose father was like a really well-known pro wrestler. He's now raised all of them. He's kind of forcing them all into the business. And he's just this like, you know, the typical like ultra competitive, no nonsense, like no sympathy, kind of like old school dad. And so Zac Efron plays Kevin, the oldest brother. You've got Jeremy Allen White playing another brother. And then there are a couple other brothers. I know one of them was the model from Triangle of Sadness, if any of you saw that. And then there's a fourth brother, Mike, who I actually thought was really good too. I don't really remember his name, but all the actors really are great, but the brothers are really like what takes this movie to another level. And so basically this story follows them on this kind of rise as they're trying to become the biggest wrestling organization in the world, and they need a big new deal to do that. And just kind of what this father is willing to put his family through in order to accomplish that. And it just like, it's so good. And like, I think as a sports movie, it is not like anything that I've really seen before. Like it doesn't stick to traditional sports stereotypes. This is really like a really, really deep, really dark family drama. That is also a sports movie, but I do have to say the sports elements, if you're a fan of pro wrestling in really any capacity, this is really kind of like a love letter to that. You can tell they care so much about it. It's one of the best cinematic representations of pro wrestling I've ever seen. Both everything in the ring, there's so much really cool in-ring work that you get to see. Plus, you know, the promo work, some of the behind the scenes stuff. It's just really, really cool and helps it feel that much more real and authentic on top of the performances. And like I said, this is a tearjerker. Be prepared to feel some things, because if you don't feel anything, I would honestly be pretty surprised, because this movie goes places that at least I wasn't expecting. I know it's based on a true story. I don't really know much about that family. But it makes everything feel so much more like depressing and sad, and like you really feel for this person knowing that they really had to go through it. Because if I'm being totally honest, so much of the things that they go through, if I thought this were a fictional script, I would have been like, you guys doubled down too hard on some of these things, like this is not realistic at all. And so just knowing that this actually happened to this family is just kind of crazy, and like you just feel for them even more. And that's honestly maybe where one of my biggest criticisms of it comes into play, is that once the movie kind of takes a turn and it stops being so much about this like kind of feel-good brother story, and it's just like boom, 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 with all the things kind of happening to this family, there's not really a lot of time for those things to breathe in between, so it just feels kind of overwhelming. And I know a lot of these things, at least some of these things seem to have happened pretty close, like consecutively, kind of back to back, but not all of them. And I kind of wish some of them had more room to breathe and more progression for the characters in between some of the decisions that are made. I think the second half of it starts feeling a little rushed to get from place to place, and like years pass and it's never entirely clear, you know, what's been happening in those years and things like that. And I know the movie is already, it's a decent length. I don't necessarily think it should be longer, but also I kind of just wanted it to be. I was really, really invested in basically everything that was happening throughout the entire runtime. Specifically in the second half, I just wanted to live in some of those moments for a little bit longer. And I don't want to let this video end without talking about Zac Efron. This is definitely the performance of his career. I know he's not typically known as a super dramatic actor, but just his physicality in this movie, the emotions that he's showing just on screen, a lot of it non-verbally. He's kind of this like shyer, more introverted guy. And it just like everything he's doing works so well. And he has so many scenes where he really just shines through and you're like, oh my God, this guy's like a real actor, not just, High School Musical actor that kind of moved over to, some romance movies and some comedies. And on top of that, obviously everybody else in this cast is great. I've already mentioned the brothers. The parents are really great as well. Lily James is great. There's really not a weak link in this whole cast. And then just stylistically, I really, really loved this. It was able to find this kind of like vintage, late 70s, early 80s, like grit and realism and authenticity without, and still have these kind of like super stylized things without them ever clashing and things starting to feel not real or things starting to feel, like the stylized stuff feeling out of place. It meshed together really, really well. And I've never seen Martha, Marcy, May, Marlene, which is, Sean Durkin's other film. But after seeing this, I'm super interested in seeing that just because this was so well made for someone who really doesn't have that much under their belt. And yeah, really for like the first half of this film, I really thought it was like a 5-star, towards the top of my list kind of thing. And it's still super strong in that second half, and it has a lot of really, really great scenes. I think just cohesively it stopped working as well for me. And for that reason, I think it is going to drop down to a 4, but a really, really strong 4. One of my favorite movies of the year by far. And that's my review for The Iron Claw, guys. Have you seen it yet? If so, let me know what you thought. Did you like it? Did you not like it? Leave a comment. And as always, if you like this content and you want to see more, don't forget to like and subscribe.